unlike private equity, which is like a perfect sort of manifestation of like the 80s trickle-down economics, deregulatory environment. But venture capital was actually invented to solve a real problem, which was that there wasn't enough risk capital in the financial system to take bets on new technologies that we might need. And some of the, I think even the biggest critics of VC can admit that VC has backed a lot of things that make our lives better. Mass market insulin and, Google search for whatever you might think of Google's made the internet accessible. So there was a real need for venture capital in the financial system when it was invented in the middle of the 20th century. I think it has evolved in a way that has become really problematic, very much alongside private equity. And now I think we can talk about this later, but they're very much evolving into each other at this point in their sort of trajectories. But the story they tell themselves is really important, which is that but for VC, these technologies would not be available. They're the intrepid risk takers that are making sure that the economy can kind of stay on the frontier of growth and development. And I could sort of argue in the book that has become less and less true over the last several decades. And we can talk about some of the reasons why that might be. I think there's a lot of mythology around the power law, which I talk about a lot in the book, which is this idea that, if you're investing in a portfolio strategy, you are going to have a couple of really big winners and a lot of really big losers, but the winners will make up for the losers. And ultimately your portfolio will outperform public markets or whatever else. And so that worked, and that's why LP money and limited partner money was attracted into venture capital funds ultimately. But from that sort of law of venture capital, a lot of the harms flow from what it takes to get the companies to be the outsized performers, pushing companies really hard to grow as big as possible in as short a time period as possible, create monopolies, drive competition out of business, drives a lot of paranoia and sort of siege mentality. I think if you have followed any of Uber's story, it's a perfect sort of example of all of the sort of bad behavior that venture capital incentivizes, and it's by design. And a lot of that harm is similar to private equity. A lot of the risk that venture capital forces companies to take on is unnecessary risk, and it's not risk that the venture capitalist is actually taking. I mean, the structure of these funds is such that the investors are going to walk away with their 2% fee no matter what happens to the companies they invested in.